development for web and mobile app. I can't use these lectures to introduce you to coding, because we will not finish in 6 trainings. And I wanted something that you guys can do quickly and start experiencing. So that's why we used no code application like Alpha 5. There are many other no code applications, but I chose Alpha 5 because it's very robust to build a full-fledged application. Then we also did chatbot, which is also some form of artificial intelligence. Now we are working with creating insights from data, which is another form of artificial intelligence. So I think I've explained and expressed everything and the buzzwords around data to you last week. But today's class is practical. I don't have any slides. I'm just going to share my screen and we'll run through 2 applications together that you can use for analyzing data. So the first one is NIME Analytics, which you have to install. It is a desktop application, meaning that you have to download it and install on your machine, just like you have Microsoft Word and applications you use on your machine without connecting to internet. The second one is Microsoft Azure. They call it is Azure. So Microsoft Azure actually has many platforms in it. Some people use it for cloud data. Some people use it for database. It also has a database inside it. There's Microsoft Azure SQL, right? There's Microsoft Azure Synapse. There's Microsoft Azure applications for deploying applications written in .NET languages, right? So Microsoft Azure has many resources. It's called resources under it. But the one we'll be using is the Microsoft Azure Machine Learning under Microsoft Azure. So you only need one account to be able to connect to all their resources. So I hope that we have also been able to register a Microsoft Azure account as well. So these things are easy. Just Google on the internet, you find them there. I think the mistake I made was I didn't remember to share the slide of last week with you. But I'm going to share all that with you just after today's training. So I'm going to start off with NIME Analytics. We'll look at it together. And then in the last 30 minutes of the training, I'm also going to introduce you to Microsoft Azure Machine Learning, which is available online. You don't need to download, you just need to have an account. And for people who have student email account, if you have a student email account or an office account, you can actually have Microsoft Azure license for a longer period for almost free. So I just wanted to let you know, and then we'll touch on these things together. Like I said, these trainings are not enough to teach you everything. They are short trainings they're actually enough to teach you if you are ready to practice in between. You understand? But it's the more practice you do that actually brings out the tools or products that you're able to develop from your learnings. But I just want you to be aware of these things. I've only introduced you to about 3 tools or 4 tools, but there are many tools, many tools. And the tools I've even introduced you to are tools that does not require programming. So there are many tools out there. Some of them you need to learn how to code, and coding is not tough. It's just for you to have time to understand. Once you're able to understand how logic works and you apply yourself to learning how to code, you will know how to code. Coding is not tough. For people who have their background in computer science, please do not shy away from coding, especially when you are being taught in school. Take do not join people to say that, oh, okay, it's not for me, I'm not going to code. Eventually, the more you are able to code, the better, because it's just like always using finished products and being able to develop the product yourself. You understand? So if you're able to buy crude oil and refine it yourself, you are better off. You dictate the terms and you make more money. But if you're always buying refined oil because the tools are available, you're always looking for no code tools. It's good, it's okay, but if you have the opportunity to learn how to code, please do. If I want to teach how to code, I have to start from the very basis. And even in 6 straight classes, we're not going to cover it because it requires your interest, it requires your passion, it also requires some level of foundational knowledge. Right. So what we have done in these artificial intelligence sessions is purely no code tools. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen now and I would show you NIME Analytics. Can you see my screen? Please confirm that you can see my screen. Okay, good. Okay, so let me not make it too so when you after installing NIME Analytics, the installation is very easy. Just download and follow the follow the instructions to install. So NIME Analytics. So this is the NIME Analytics we're referring to. It's a platform. So once you go there, you can click to download. Usually when you are downloading, there's download for okay, let's click here. There's download for Windows operating system, there's download for Linux operating system. So depending on your operating system, you click the appropriate download. Okay, so you can just put in your details to register and then download. I already downloaded before. I'm not intending to download again, but that's the step. Okay, so you can see you download the installer, right? And then you follow the instructions to have it installed on your machine. So this is the step to download NIME Analytics. Once you are done downloading and installing, you simply open your NIME Analytics app, right? And open from here. I already have it opened. So when you open it, this is what you have. This is what the NIME Analytics platform looks like. So it's a data analytics platform, meaning, remember last week I told you what data analytics is. It's a way of generating insights, right, from data, right? And before you can generate the insights from data, you need to understand ways of pre-processing your data using those statistical understanding that I shared with you last week, understanding how to replace missing values using mean median mode, understanding how to ensure that your missing data or your data is normalized, right? Remember last week when we talked about left skewed, right skewed, right? So I'm going to show you example of how to bring in data into NIME Analytics and how to produce insights from the data. And one way to practice with various data is you can use platforms online, like you hear of people talk about data competition platforms. There are many data competition platforms, but I'll introduce you to two. You can use Kaggle platform. So there are many projects on Kaggle data platform. It's a competition platform. If you go to Kaggle, right? So if you go to Kaggle on Kaggle platform, there are many data competitions that you can click on, and some of them even come with good money, right? You can click on some of these Kaggle competitions. This is a very common one. Go click on the competition and then look at the data in it, right? And you can try to analyze. The data can come in CSV form. I'm going to show you how you can upload the CSV data online, and then use the knowledge of working with data, use it to analyze some of this data, right? There is also a similar platform like Kaggle. You can go to Zindi. Okay, I think I'll include this in the final slide I'll share with you, how to access data for competitions and use no code um, data analytics platform to analyze them. So for some people who know how to write code, they actually do their data analysis using Python. You hear about Python. You can do your data analysis using Python, but you can also use platforms like this to do your data analysis without writing code. Okay, so I asked you guys to download a data last week. Well, we can use this data. So to download, you just click on it and then click on download. There are three files. I want the CSV one. Okay, test and train. Okay, so download all. So I've downloaded this, right? Let me unzip. So I'm going to use this at some point. I just want to download it now. So, right, you can see you have the data now. You have the test, the train, and then this submission one is just showing you a sample of what your submission should look like. Okay, so I'm going to explain the difference between test and train to you when we are doing NIME analytics. Let's go on. So let's go back to our NIME analytics. Okay, so on NIME analytics, you have, let me explain the menus to you and then I go into creating a workflow. So when you when you when you when you bring up NIME analytics, you see these various sections on your screen. You have the NIME Explorer. The NIME Explorer actually has some templates that you can use to study workflow. Workflow in NIME analytics is simply the processes of bringing in your data and extracting insights. So the flow from beginning to the end. That's what the workflow is. We're going to create, so for us to create an insight, we have to create a workflow and then run the workflow. I'm going to show us data. So we have the examples that come, example workflows, which you can use to understand or study some workflow. So those examples are grouped into these different sections. You have the basic examples, right? You have examples on customer churn. There are many things to teach you about analytics, but I've just touched on the surface of some of those key areas that you should know. There's examples on retail, examples on analytics you can create or about social media. So NIME Analytics is actually a very, very good platform. There are many other platforms like that too, but people even use NIME Analytics in the industry. So if you know NIME Analytics very well and you understand how to work with your data, you can actually use this to create a lot of interesting intelligence with big data, right? So so for people who even have Excel skill, you can also improve yourself to be able to use NIME Analytics very well. So the first window, like I said, comes with templates from NIME that you can use, and then so the other window is the repository. So the repository contains the tools that you can use for your drag and drop. So like the first category here is IO. If I want to do anything around input and output, IO is input and output. So if I want to create any tool for reading or writing files, I'm going to use the look for the tools under IO. So there are many tools that I use in the workflows, but I'm going to see them under IO. Then for manipulating my data, let's say replacing columns, converting, transforming, and things like that, I'm going to use tools under manipulation. If I want to view my data content, use this. If I want to create some statistics of my data, I can use analytics, right? So there are many things, many tools. So the more you use them, the more you get familiar with those tools. But we are just going to create a basic workflow. So, and then the console here gives you information about the processes of your workflow. If there are errors, you see displayed somewhere here down at the workflow. And of course, for you to create a new project or a new workflow, you have to come to File. You can export or import workflows. Just usual basic file menu, like file menu, edit, view. So these are the main windows around NIME Analytics. So let's start off with looking at some of the templates. So for you to view any of the templates, let's start off with the basic one. Some of the examples. Come to example. Okay, come to local workspace. So your workflows are under workspaces. So come to local workspace. Let's look at any of the basic example. Let's look at visualizing visual analysis of sales data. So we're just going to double click on this, and then it's going to pop up the workflow on the dashboard. So you can see this is the dashboard, and I'm going to explain this workflow to you quickly. So the workflow mainly are the connecting tools. So each of this is a tool. Like this CSV reader is a tool under read. You can see it here. If I drag and drop, create the same tool for me. So I just wanted to see it. So each of the tool comes on my dashboard as a node. So I have different nodes for doing different things. So I must know the process, and then I'll come here to drag and drop tools to create the process for me. So it's not that you just be dragging and dropping anything. You want to analyze data, you have to import the data first. You have to view the data. Are there missing columns? Are there missing is the data variable skewed? Do I need to normalize it? Some of those are some of the things you need to do. For me to normalize it, what is the mean of that given data? What is the linear correlation on that given data? How can I interpret those correlations? Those are some of the things that will inform the tool you pick. Like if I want to perform a linear correlation, I come to statistics, I pick on linear correlation, and then I check the correlation between two variables. So those are some of the things um, you can do, right? So looking at those, and if you're not sure of how to create a workflow, the examples are there to help you. So this is a basic example. There are much more complex examples in there that you can look at to help you. So for some of you who are into research, or some of you who work with data, you can use NIME Analytics to explore your data, right? So um, sorry, excuse me. Okay, yeah. Let me go back to sharing my screen. Are we together? I'm back now.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Okay. Okay, yeah. So for this example, you can this is the workflow, and it's used to explore a given data. So once you drag and drop the tool, you have to edit the tool to give it the file, right? So it's coming. Okay, so right, okay, let me bring up a new one and say I don't know why it's not allowing me to. So why are you not allowing this? Okay. Okay, so let's just have this for a view. We are going to create our own workflow ourselves. So so for a workflow, um, the first thing you might just need to do, depending on the file type, you drag and drop the read file. If you're reading an Excel file, if your data is in Excel, you use Excel reader, CSV reader, and so on and so forth. So for this, okay, depending on the data, you can filter your column, filter on your row. We're going to see different kind of filter, and then we can perform data visualization. So you can view any of this intelligence workflow to see, just double click on any one of them and look at the flow. And the templates are actually very insightful in the sense that there's an explanation on each of the flow and what the flow is doing. So if you look at this particular flow for predicting churn, churn simply means predicting if a customer will buy or not buy, if a customer um, would would stop being your stop buying from you, or continue buying from you, or if that's just okay, that's just what churn is, either leave or not leave. So because that's very important for making profit. If there's a customer churn, if a customer leaves, then you likely have lower sales. So it's very important in looking at the pattern of your customers to predict if there will be a customer churn. Even for employees too is applied. You want to predict if if an employee will stay longer in an establishment, or if they would leave almost immediately. So there are various variables, various metrics for that. You can also do a custom. You can also do a churn. I mean, a prediction on your sales, right? If you are looking at a prediction on your sales, using the sales data, you can predict the sales volume or the sales amount in, in a future time, right? So that's what machine learning is basically used for. So, and with NIME Analytics, you can also have various data sources, and you can have a joiner for your data source as long as they have the same columns. So in part of processing your data, you can convert um, your variables from one form to another, maybe from number to string, or from string to categories, to labels, right? And if I want to partition into test and train, I can use my partitioning tool. So looking at the templates, the template workflow is really very good, in the sense that it helps you to know how to um, create your own workflow, right? So I advise you that you study each of the templates in more detail. So I'm just running through it to show you, but now let's see how creating a workflow is. So to create a workflow, you simply go to new and then new NIME workflow. So you give it a name and then you give it a location. If you don't give it a location, it has a default location for storing all the workflows. So let's just call this simple, or my first workflow. I want to leave it in the default location. But if I want to change the location, of course, I can change it here and put in a different location on my system. Oh, okay. I think everything has to be in the default local space, local workspace under 9. And then this is the default location. So just in case you need to go and copy the file, right? So we've given it a name, we simply click next. And you can work on multiple workflows at the same time. You can see it's creating each of your workflow as a tab. So I would advise you can even start off with using any of the templates and create a replica of the template using a similar data. I think I told you guys last week to download the sales data. So with that sales data, we can do this. But let's use the Titanic data we downloaded from Kaggle, because I also want you guys to see how to work on data on competition sites so that you can use that to practice and at some point move up the ladder in Kaggle or Zindi and then be able to win some of the competitions by working with data and creating insights. Okay, so remember we downloaded the data. I have it in my downloads, right? Remember we downloaded this data. So for competitions, when creating insights, what you use is your train data. So it's in CSV form, so I need this CSV reader. So I'm just going to call up this CSV reader. Now, when you pick up a node on the dashboard is referred to as a tool. Under the same thing as a drag and drop tool. So all our tools are here. So because the workflow looks like a graph, it has connecting wires, and then so it's called node. So each tool on the workflow is a node. So when you pick up a node, it has 3 buttons. The first one shows red, the middle one shows amber, the third one shows green. So when you pick it up the first time, if it's a node that requires some more information, it will show you amber. Now, if you supply it an information and the information is not correct, it will show you yellow. But when the information yellow, but if it's waiting for the information, it will show you this is it danger sign or safety sign, I'll call it, this middle sign. But when it has gotten the information and then the node is fine, it will show you green. Now your workflow is not going to run except all your nodes are green. So that I just want you to take note of that, but you're going to see it as we move on. So this is a CSV file reader. I'm going to right click on it, click on configure to specify the file. Right, so I want you to read the file from my local system. I want you to pick up a file, and then I'm just going to browse to the location of the file. So that particular file I want you to pick is in my downloads, folder. Titanic. Yep. Let me see. Oh, okay, I found it. So this is the folder, and then I said we're going to use train. Okay, let me explain this to you quickly. So when you go to competition sites, you usually find 3 types of data like this. So the first one is train. Train simply means that this is the data that will be used for creating your machine learning predictions. Right. Now, for evaluating your predictions and getting the answers for your submission, you use test. And then this is the sample of what your submission would look like. Okay, but the main one I want us to use is the train, because the train contains all the columns of the data we need and contains the labels that we can use for predictions. Let me quickly open it and show it to you so that you understand better. Okay, so remember last week I talked about variables, single variables, right? So for this particular data, we have 890 891 rows of data. From, you can see that from the Excel, and you have different columns. Now these different columns are what we also call variables that can be used to predict a particular variable. So the main, we can use this to predict different variables, or we can pick a particular variable as the variable we want to predict. For example, we can predict the fare, to say that if this person is a male and is of this age, right, and is of this class. Maybe, remember, on an airplane there are different classes, and these classes pay different fares, right? So you can use this to predict the fare. But in this case, for Titanic data, this data is being used to predict whether um, there's a survivor or not. So survived here means 0, means that there was no survivor. This name was lost in the ship. This is a replica of the mimicking the Titanic data on the Titanic ship, right? So this means that this name did not survive. 1 means that this name survived. Of course, we had um, more deaths than survivors. We can quickly see that by doing a filtering on Excel. So if you filter, so you have 550 deaths, right? Or 549, because the first rule is the field header. And then you had 343, 342 survivors, right? So this is just a competition data that is used to then predict on the um, test data set. But let's just create this together using the NIME analytics, and then let's see what analytics it gives to us. So coming back to my NIME analytics, oops, I have, okay, so I'm going to open this, right? And then so once I've given it the file, I then click on apply and then okay. Okay, so it's showing amber now, meaning that it has the file, but it's not showing me green because this node cannot stand alone. It has to connect to another node, right? So the next thing I want to do on my workflow is I want to manipulate my data. So let's say I want to convert some part in my data from number to category, or from category to number. So let's take a look at the number at the data itself. So studying the data, in creating your prediction, this passenger ID will not give you any information because it's it doesn't have any pattern in it. It's just serial number of very unique numbers. So this is not going to give you any information. So you are going to take out this column. This is your variable that you are using that you want to predict. So in machine learning, we call this your dependent variable. Then the other variables that will be used to explain this survived variable, we call them independent variables. But name also is not meaningful because it also has unique names. I cannot tell whether a person will survive or not by their names. It doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to remove passenger ID and name. But class is a very useful information for me because if this person is in high class, middle class, or lower class, that will determine their position in the ship and maybe likely determine if they survived or not. Class would also be very instrumental to the kind of fare that they will pay, right? So the class will remain. These interpretations of this data, you find them in the competition site as well. So whenever you go to a competition site and you pick on the data, when you go to data set, it will give you an explanation. Oops, sorry. Yeah, while you are still on the same competition under the data, if you scroll down, it will give you an explanation of each of the columns. So come to columns, should give you an explanation. Oh, okay, let's check overview. Data description. We actually where the data description is, but oh, okay. Okay. So you have to click on the particular file. Should describe each of this data. Let's go to overview. Okay, sorry. So you find it under overview. I'm coming. So there's a place you would find an explanation of each of the column and what they mean actually. So that's what I'm looking for, but I can't find. Okay, so either overview or data, it should be, oh, okay, this is what I should, okay, yes. So this is what I'm looking for. Okay, so there is this small arrow. There's an arrow for, where is the arrow again? Okay, so I want to show us that. So let me show us again. So under overview, under data tab, come to data description. Then look at this tiny arrow there. You would see an explanation on the data description. Yeah, so just click on that tiny arrow to expand it. Then it tells you about the training set, tells you about the data dictionary. Data dictionary simply explains each of the variable and what their meaning is, right? So you need an understanding of these variables to be able to know how to create your workflow, right? So these are the meanings of the different data. So now let's go back to our 9. Um, so now the next thing I want to do is to um, take out some columns, and then I'm going to take out passenger ID name, and then you can look at cabin. It has a lot of missing data. So in processing my data, I need to replace missing data. I also have missing data in age, right? So you need to study your data and understand how your data works. And that's why we talked about domain knowledge of data is very important. So I'm just using this example of data to explain to us how to work with data. So now so now that we've seen our data and what is inside, we can come back here and pick on a tool to help us create that. So to I want to take out some columns. I'm going to use where is column replace? Okay, so let's use column filter. So I bring in a column filter, and for these two nodes to work, I need to connect them. To connect them, simply click on this connecting arrow and drag and drop to the next connecting arrow. Right. So with this, there's a connection between the two nodes. So to configure this, you right click, click on configure. Right. So when you right click and click on configure, it's showing you the columns in your file and what are the filters you want to ensure. So I'm going to come here and tell it to exclude particular columns. So what are the columns I want to exclude? I want to exclude passenger ID. I can click on it here and bring it here. So it's going to exclude passenger ID. I also want to exclude name. Remember I said name is of no value. I also want to exclude ticket. Remember your ticket number is also an ID. So it doesn't make any sense. Your ticket ID. So for us to be sure of the meaning of ticket, we can come back to the description and on cargo. So look at the ticket number. So ticket number cannot tell me whether the person survived or not. So I'm going to remove ticket as well. So I'm removing ticket. I'm also removing name. Are we following? So once I've specified,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, good. So once I've specified the columns I'm removing, I would say apply and okay. Now, if you were writing, what is it called, Python code for this, there are lines of code you write for this. With this thing I've done using drag and drop in few minutes, I would have written maybe like 5 or more code lines on Python for this, but this is just a drag and drop tool. Okay, so now that I've removed the columns, remember I said we have missing values. Okay, so let's even see what it has done. So let's look for a tool to view. Okay, so if you are not sure, you can even come here and type, I want to view content, view the output. Anyways, let me go to my read and write, because anything that has to do with reading and displaying, it's under my IO. So I'm going to come to read and write. So I can say write it to a CSV writer. So I just connect. So it wants me to give it a file name. So I can just say okay, I thought it was going to. Let me just give it a name and allow it to. In my documents. So to save to my documents, let me just call it results, apply, okay. So now that I've created so this simple workflow is just to remove columns. So let me run this now. So now that I've run it, you can see it's green. It would have created that file for me. I'll go to my documents and view the new file that's created. Results. Okay, let me see on my 9-man analytics where it is. Okay, you know what? Let me save it in my downloads where I'm sure of. Save it as CSV. Okay, so apply and okay. So let's run again. Okay, so I should find it in my downloads. Good. So this is the file in my download. I think it wanted us to specify the long name, the full name of the part. So you can see it has performed that operation, but that's just to show us how it works. It has performed the operation. So let's go back to our 9 again. So at this point, I don't need a CSV writer, so I'm going to take out this note. What do I want to do next? I want to replace missing values. So I'm going to come to manipulation again. Columns, where did I see replace? Okay, I think that's under transform. Okay, so missing value. You also have the normalizer as well. So let's come here and see missing value. So simply drag and drop. Then you need to configure. Right, so missing value. So for missing values that are numbers, do you want it to replace with mean? I usually prefer mean so that your data does not lose normalization, right? But you can, depending on how you feel, as a domain expert, you can choose to replace with maybe most frequent value. You can choose to, if it's a category, I'll use replace with most frequent value. I can use median value too, but for this case, I just want to use mean. For string, I can say remove the row. That's another way of fixing the values that are missing and things like that. So this would be a general apply. but I can also come here to set my missing value by columns, right? So let's look at the data again. Survivor doesn't have any missing value. How do you know that they are missing value? So I told you Excel is very handy. So on your Excel, just do a filter. Let's do a filter on all the rows. I mean, all the columns. So, okay, we have already taken out passenger ID. We don't need it anymore. So for survivor, there are no missing values. If there were missing values, you see it showing an empty checkbox. For P class, there are no missing values. There are 1, 2, 3. For we have taken out name. For sex, there are no missing values. But for age, we have missing values. And on Excel, you are going to see it show blanks, right? On Python, you might need to write code to see missing values. We can actually check for missing values too using 9, but because the data is small, that's why I'm checking it using Excel. On 9, there's a tool that allows you to check for, okay, I think this is the one that allows you to check for missing value, then this to apply the missing value. But we'll come back here. Yeah, so you should be able to, because if there are missing values in your data, the prediction you are creating will not work well. This is just a simple prediction, but it won't work well. So let's pick on the missing value. That's age. Then add. So for age, for the missing value, I can then specify. I would rather, because for the first one, it will do a general replacement of your missing value. So let's not use the general ones. Let's use the specific. Let's deal with the columns with missing value separately. So for age, for the missing value, I want it to replace with mean age, right? Which other one do I have missing value for? Okay, there's no missing value in this. There's no missing value in this. Okay, we've taken out ticket. Do we have fare missing value? No, there's no missing value in fare. It's complete. For cabin, we have missing values. So for cabin, you can see it's in category. For embark, they are missing value. So for cabin, I'll just use a common value. Oh, some of them even have 3. Okay. So come here. So for something like a category based column like cabin, the kind of missing value replacement we can do is we can use the most frequent value, right? That would work well. Then for embark has some missing values. I would also prefer to use a most frequent value. So once we say apply, okay, then it's done. So let's drag and drop missing value, apply. Let's see. Right click and configure. Okay, sorry. So we need to connect. So let's connect the input table and then the transformation. What are the things you should do? Right. So configure. Why not seeing the flow? Okay, we can always check out the result. Let's do this. configure. Okay, so it's saying that this file already exists. So I'll just say overwrite, give me the same file, apply, then okay. It's showing me black. Yeah, I think because the file is opened. Yeah, the file is opened. That's why it's still showing me red. So I'm going to configure again. So if you want to configure your nodes, you always need to right click and put in the expected value. Why am I still having red? That will be overwritten. Yes, overwrite it. Right column header. The file is no longer open. Okay, I think I know why it was. So now overwrite it. Apply. Okay. Okay. Let's run and see if we can get our result. Okay, fine. So it has run through the workflow. We have our result. It would have overwritten what was there before. So if you go to your file now, you would notice that it has replaced the missing values. Right. So you can see there are no missing values anymore. Um, you can quickly see that with your filter. So there are no more missing values. There are no more blanks. You can see. So with fair, it should have replaced it with the average fair. With cabin, it has replaced it with the most common cabin, right? With embark, it has replaced with the most common value as well. Are you guys still following me?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Yes, we
Yeah.
are. Please go on.
Okay. So this is the process of creating
Yes, ma'am.
workflow. Yeah, this is the process for creating the workflow for machine learning. So we are at this point. We have what we are doing now is we have imported our data. We are now pre-processing the data. So part of pre-processing means removing or filtering on columns, filtering on missing values, right? And then another way of pre-processing the data is changing of data type. I'll explain this to you. So so there are some data types here that appear in form of um, strings like sex, which is male and female. Sometimes it might not be easy for the computer to work with string value because even it's going to convert it to so this is an example of what we call category based data. So male, female, right? Um, Sometimes for data like this, you can change it to value type, right? For embark as well, which is also in three categories, you can change it to value type or simply, oh, this is the old data I'm looking at, or simply specify to it that, let me open the result one. Okay, right. So this is our cleaned data, right? So then another thing we need to do to also clean our data is for age. You don't really there are no ages in decimal value. So preferably I would want to make everything whole numbers. Let's say 29 years, or I want to make it one decimal value. But if I make it one decimal value, it's going to be interpreted wrongly because age wise really is not in decimal of 10 because we don't have 10 months, we have 12 months. So you have to have that understanding when manipulating your data. So age wise is cannot be put in decimal value this way. Instead, I'll rather have a whole value. If I want to have the months value, I can make it something like maybe additional column and specify age and specify months, or change my age into months. Okay, I think it's better we change the age into months. So we simply multiply the value here by 12 to change it into months, right? And then round off the number. So we'll multiply by 12 first and then round off the number to the nearest whole number. So that's one way to manipulate age. Then for the fair, we can reduce it to 2 decimal figures, because we don't know the value or the currency of this fair, but at least most currency would not exceed maybe 2 decimal figures. So that's another thing to do here. For the cabin, we can still filter more to say, okay, some of these ones that are having three cabins, 3 in 1. One person cannot be in 3 cabins at the same time. So there's something wrong with some data, some of this kind of data. So maybe we can take them out, identify them, and replace them. Right. So those are the ways you clean up or pre-process your data. So pre-processing actually takes a while, because that's the meat of your machine learning. You have to get the data ready for the algorithm, for applying the model. It takes and it takes an understanding of the domain data, and that's why we need domain experts in artificial intelligence, in creating intelligence from data. So the next thing I want to do now is to get my age data ready. So how do I do that? I'll need to use the manipulating, the column manipulator. So let me see. I think I should find that under convert, category to number, constant value column. So I can use the math formula and then round double. So let's start with the math formula one. So I'm going to take out this connection. And I only use this one for viewing my output. I don't need it yet. So let me come back and use the math formula. So depending on whatever you want to do, instead of writing the code like you do using Python, here you just drag and drop the tool that applies to the code you want to write. So math formula, let's drag and drop, then right click to configure. So remember, we want to apply our math formula to age. Where is add? To age, and under age, what do we want to do? We want to multiply. Okay, so we can use the expression. So age multiplied by 12, right? 12 months, yes. So we can ask it to write it into a new column, which I'll prefer, so we can compare. I can call this new age, right? Convert to int is already in int, so let's say apply. Why are you not recognizing age? Okay, coming. Okay, let me do this and see. Oh, okay, this is the way I'm to specify it, sir. So double click on, okay, let me start the process again. So to select age, double click on it, right? and then multiply by 12. So now and then what we're saying is write it into a new column, append a new column, new age. So apply and then OK. Right, so this is my math formula for age. This is going to transform my age. So next thing I want it to do, I want it to round that number. So I'll say round double. Link it, configure. So it's going to pick my, you can see it has my new column, right? So it will pick my new column. I want it to round my new column age. Then append as, no, I want it to still put it, no. If you put this, it will append rounded on the new age name. So I don't want this. So let me just uncheck this. And then I want precision of 0, rounding 0. Right. So I say apply and OK. Right. If I want to view whatever is there, I simply come here, but I want us to complete everything before viewing. So you see from time to time I have to go back to my data, study my data, see, okay, how do I want to apply it? So the next thing, my fare as well, I want to round it off to 2 decimal value. So I'm not going to use the same round double. I have to pick another round double. So I'll pick another round double. And the interesting thing with KNIME is that it works with big data. Though these things, if you are very good with Excel, people will argue with you that, oh, I can do my analysis on Excel. Why do I need to use KNIME? All well and good, but KNIME can work with big data, and then you can do more model prediction on KNIME. So let me just run quickly so that we can finish this and touch on Azure. So I pick on new age, sorry, the same new age, right? And then, oh, we've done new age. We are doing fair now. We want to round off fair to 2 decimal figures. So for fair, we round it up to 2 decimal figures. So we'll leave it at 2. I want it to be decimal places. So I say apply and OK. Right. So what other thing do we need to do to clean? I think I said, yeah, so embarked is fine. So for cabin, there are some strings with more than more than 1 value. This is quite tricky, but let's see. If I want to do this, one interesting way I can ask the machine to do it is to so the highest string has 1, 2, 3, 4 characters. So C103. So if I do C23 and one more space, I mean one more character, I will have space. So what I'll rather do for this is to we call it what's it called? Is to reduce the length of the string. So I'm going to ask that machine to reduce the length of the string into 4. So I'll look for a string manipulator, manipulate string, drag and drop. Oops. So you always need to connect. Then right click and configure. So for my string manipulator, what I want to manipulate is cabin. So I'll simply double click it. So my cabin, we want to is like a replace string. Let's see. So you can see all different kind of string manipulators that you can do without writing code. So what we want to do is to use the replace. So I want the replace so the string set replace. You can also reverse string. You see it's very, very robust. I want a simple replace, but okay, let's use this one. So So you see it has already specified to you how to use it. So it's saying that in your replace method, your string will be here, then you specify your search and your replace. Okay, no, let's use this replace characters. Replace characters. So I want the string, I want the characters, and then it's giving you examples. So let's see. Replace characters A, B, C, D, A, C. Not really. So this might not fit into what I want. I want it to give me the first four string. Okay, yeah, I would use substring, yes. So this is what I would use. So substring, give me the string beginning from this index from a particular starting point, and give me a length of the string. So you can see examples here, like if my string is ABCDF, start from the second string, which is B, then give me 10 characters. So of course it will count up to where 10 characters will stop. So this is okay, so the index starts from 0, 1, 2. So this is 0, 1, 2. So it will start from C, D, E, F. Do you understand? Look at the first one. Start from length 0, which is the first character, and give me 2 characters. So it will give me A, B. So you see, it gives you examples of how to use it. So let's use the substring, and I'll specify cabin. So for me to specify cabin, make sure your mouse is where you want the string to be. Double click on cabin, you can see. So your string is now here. So what start do we specify? It will be 0, right? And then we want it to pick the first 4 characters. So I'm going to specify my length as 4. So this is what I want. I don't want a new column. Okay, let's do a new column so that we can compare it. So we say new cabin. So this will create it for us in a new column. Right. So apply and say okay. So you all of this we're doing is to pre-process our data, but I think with all of this, I think our data is ready. Yeah. So there are many other ways, many other tools you can use to pre-process the data, but let's just stop at this, and then we apply the model. If I'm just trying to arrange. Okay, so now let's run this and see. Okay, I need to configure. Once this button is showing you red, it means there's something wrong with the node. It should show you either yellow or green. So you have to right click and go to configure. Configure. Okay, let's delete this and bring another writer. Or let's close this. Maybe don't save. Maybe that's why. Configure. Okay. So let's delete this writer and bring up another writer. Yes. So let's simply go to our IO. Where is it? And bring up CSV Writer. So there's drag. Right click and configure. So I'm going to specify the same file. I think it's in my downloads. Choosing generation. Okay, so result, click. I wanted to still use the same file, so I'll just ask it to overwrite, apply, and okay. Okay, so now let's run and just see what our data looks like. You can see it's also very fast. Within seconds, it has run the value for you. So now let's see what our pre-processed data looks like. So, why is it taking time? So you can see, oh, well, okay, we rounded. Oh, okay. I thought, okay. Anyways, so this is our age column. What is this thing do? Okay, this is our age column, which but we had the age values in decimal. I don't know why it's not there anymore. Okay, so we had the age column in decimal, then we multiplied it by 12 to get this new age column, and then we rounded it off. There's something wrong somewhere. Oh, I think there's a mistake. I think when we were rounding off, we didn't pick new age. Maybe we picked this age, because this is what we want to round off. This is what we want to round off. Okay, so so this is the new age in months, right? And then it should be rounded off the value. Let me just check and then apply the model. But with this, our model, I mean, we should be ready to run our model. Where is the fair? Okay, so the fair worked. Did we create new fair? Okay, so for the fair, I think, or for the fair, we rounded off into 2 decimal values. There's something wrong somewhere. Let's go back and check. Configure age, multiply by 12, appending to new age column. Maybe we should use convert to int so that apply. Okay. So round, let's cut the next one to it. New age column. 0 decimal places. Append as new. No, we took this out. Output format double. Okay, I think that's why we're having double. Okay, I think we can do this all together here. Convert to integer. Okay, so I think with this, we shouldn't have need to use this double. So let me take this out. Just select it and delete. So let me look at this again. Round off to double. So for the fair, okay, we have to connect it back. So we have to connect, configure. So for fair, so is the fair that we are rounding off to? Oh, okay. Append as new columns. I don't append. Precision, round off to 2 decimal places. Rounding off mode. Okay, round up to 2 decimal places. Apply.
Sorry, ma. Sorry to cut you, ma.
No problem. Please go on.
Ma, I thought it was the new age we were rounding off.
No, okay, so we are rounding off both new age. No. Okay, yeah, I was rounding off new age and fair. So for the fair, I was rounding off to 2 decimal places. So look at, let me now use this one. I think it's save. Yeah. So look at the fair. Some have 4 decimal places, some have 1 decimal place, and things like that. So I'm rounding off this one to 2 decimal place. Then the age, I'm multiplying by 12.
Okay.
Oh, okay. The age doesn't have decimal value actually.
Yes.
No, some has. Yeah, because I remember I saw some. Yeah,
Oh,
28.5. Some has. Yeah, 0.83.
okay.
Yeah. So I don't want to round off this. I don't want to round off age, then multiply by 12 because it won't give me the actual value. So if I round off this one to 1 and then multiply by 12, then to tell me that the baby is 12 months old. No, I want to multiply by 12, then round off to the nearest
Oh no.
whole number. You understand? So
Yes,
in
ma'am.
this case, I might have something like 11 months. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay.
thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. So I noticed something. Yeah, cancel. Okay. So under the math formula, right, we have the checkbox to click convert to integer. So I'm like, instead of rounding off to the nearest whole number again, we can just check this and say after multiplying, convert it to integer. So integer would be without decimal places. You understand? So there's no need for applying the round up again for this, but let's just see how it works. So I'm using this instead of using an additional node again. So for round double, I'm going to only specify fair and then say round it off to 2 decimal place for me. So, and then for string manipulation, I'm manipulating the string for cabin, right, using a string replace. I think, okay, yeah, for this, we want it to give it to us as a new column so we can compare. So we are fine. Okay, let's run. What's wrong? His result open here is not. Okay, let me configure and see why this one is not running. Apply. Okay, run. Aha. So the button is green now, so we should have the right value. So let's come here and see what's in our result. Okay, yeah, so this is what I'm expecting. My fare is still not looking nice. My age, okay, maybe I'm still going to have to apply the round value because it didn't give it to me as integer, but this is my new age. Having after multiplying it by 12. Okay, no, this is it after multiplying it by 12 and rounding it off. Fair, no, it didn't work because okay, no, it worked. Look at cabin, the old cabin, then this is the new cabin. You can see it has replaced the value. So what I'll do now is to take out the columns I don't need. I don't need this cabin anymore. I don't need this age anymore. So I'm going to take out age and cabin, and then I'll apply my model. Okay, so let's go back to 9. So let's take this out because that's just for us to view. Put this separate somewhere. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to use the column filter. Column filter. Then drag and drop from here to here. Right click, configure, So I'm taking out age, I'm taking out cabin, right? And I have the others. So I'll just say apply, okay. So now I think what we'll have as output here is ready for prediction. So now I'm going to go and pick on the kind of machine learning model that I want to use. I'll have that under analytics. Going to come to mining. So these are different types of machine learning models. You can read up on them, but for a simple model like this, what we want to predict is survived or not. So survive, did this was there a survivor or not, right? So the kind of machine learning model we can use for this is the classification type. And there are examples of such is logistic regression, um, decision tree. So we have three main um, types. We have the regression type, we have classification type, and then we have neural networks. I'm going to put a slide to explain these different types in the final slide I'll send to you. So don't worry, but you can read up more about machine learning algorithms on your own. So for this particular one, I would like to use the simple logistic regression. So I'm just going to drag and drop. Right. So okay, wait, before I use, yeah, okay. Before I use the logistic regression, I can actually, okay, no, let's do this. So we have the model. So all you just need to do is to drag and drop, right? And then you right click to configure. So to configure this, you have to specify your prediction column, right? So we're going to check this and then type the prediction column name there. So the column we're predicting is the survived column, right? This column, we want it to predict this survived column. So call this survived, right? Um, Append columns with prediction probability, yes. I'd like to see the probability for, so this is what it uses to base this judgment. So this, I'd like us to just, so call this probabilities. Then we say apply and okay. Um, okay. I don't want us to bother ourselves with this, but it seems like it's compulsory. As prediction name. Okay, sorry, I think I'm using the wrong one. It should be the learner, because this is our train. So it has to learn the labels, right? So if you use the learner one, so configure. Yeah, this is the one to use. So pick the target column. Survived, right? Future selection, yeah. Sex embarked. No, I want it to give me survived or not. Oh, okay, I know why. So I'll explain this to you. So under this learner actually, um this like I said, this particular machine learning is used for category based prediction. So what it has done is it has looked through our data set and looked at the ones that are of the data type category, like sex, new, embarked, and new cabin. It's not seeing what we want to predict, which is the survived as category, seeing it as integer.
I don't know what happened. Can you people hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, we can.
I don't know what happened to her. I'm sure she'll come back.
Okay, sir, we'll wait. We'll wait. Or maybe you can call her.
Okay, I'll call her.